All right. This is going to be interesting. I didn't realize that making posts telling men that they shouldn't talk about their feelings would be so triggering. Um, why is my internet so bad? Oh, I haven't switched my internet. Shoot. I'm going to be right back. All right. Hopefully that's fixed. I hope people can see me. Yeah, that was a mess up on my part. Yeah, so I didn't realize that talking about this subject about men not expressing their feelings would be so triggering. And I'm really good at triggering women, but I actually triggered quite a few men on this. And I get it. I get it because I I was that guy for a really long time, and I would have been triggered. I have been triggered, and for the same, for men saying the same thing. So I want to get clear on this. I want to really bring some clarity to the subject. So, a dominant, devotional man, is not afraid to express his feelings. All right, his feelings aren't repressed. Right. If we're talking about myself, my feelings aren't repressed. It would be impossible for me to teach what I do to women if my feelings were repressed in any way. I feel everything, right? I feel my sadness, my guilt, my shame, my happiness, everything, right? And quite fully. I'm extremely in touch with my feelings compared to most men. Nothing is repressed. Everything is felt fully. All right. And more than that, I'm not afraid to share my feelings either. Right? I have expressed my feelings to my friends. I've expressed my feelings to my woman. I've expressed my feelings to my parents. I've expressed my feelings on live streams. I'm not afraid of that. I mean, like to be really, really vulnerable, if I was really to get into that, like into that feminine heart space where it like feels really vulnerable and exposing. Yeah, sure, there's definitely some fear there as well. But expressing feelings in general, no fear at all. It's not about that though. That's not the reason that I'm suggesting that men shouldn't express their feelings. uh you know it, it's sort of like saying like, oh, women shouldn't lead. If I give women the suggestion, hey, women shouldn't like tell a man what to do. Am I saying that because women are afraid of telling a man what to do? It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with fear. I mean, a woman could be afraid of that, and probably most women are afraid of that. But the reason I'm giving that suggestion is not because a woman's afraid to do it, right? It's because it depolarizes the relationship. What's actually happening is that when a man, especially when he's really expressing his feelings a lot in a relationship, like basically almost definitely he actually is living in fear, whether he's aware of it or not. The most heart open, not just heart open, but like the most feminine, vulnerable man I knew, like I'm actually, or was friends with anyway, he expressed his feelings about everything with women. And he couldn't lead himself out of a paper bag. He certainly couldn't lead his woman out of a paper bag. And that's because when a man is expressing feelings all the time, it means he's not leading, right? Like if I say like, oh, I feel really sad right now. Okay. So why is he not leading himself out of that? And if he feels sad because of something his woman did, let's say, right? And he's like, oh, I feel really sad. What is he doing? He's putting that burden on his woman to hold space for his feelings and then to figure out what to do about it, like to lead, to make him feel better in some way. He is putting her into the masculine role, into the leading role, right? And why is he doing that? Because he's fucking afraid. He is, whether he's conscious of it or not, he is afraid to lead. He is afraid to be dominant. He is afraid to be the man in that relationship. Because when a man truly finds his power in the relationship, when he feels his dominance, when he feels that strength to lead, when he recognizes that that is his natural role in the relationship, that it is okay to lead, he loses that urge to even express that stuff. And he's just going to say like, hey, don't do that anymore. I would like you to do this, or, something like that, where he's actually leading instead of just expressing and putting that burden on his woman. Now, how do I know this? Well, other than coaching men and seeing that this is exactly what they are doing over and over again, I've seen it. It is so clear and obvious. And it's exactly what I did. It's exactly what I did for years, right? It was easier for me to just express my feelings and share than to actually find my balls and tell my woman what I would like her to do or to not do, and to tell her the truth about her behavior, right? For many men, that's the case because they're so conscious. Conscious is just code for feminine, really, that they're able to really express their feelings, but they can't really lead. And it's funny, like it's sad too, because so many women are triggered by me bringing this up as well, right? And they're like, no, like I want a man with who expresses feelings and blah blah blah. Yeah, you don't. You might think you do, and the more masculinized you are, you do. And the more that you've experienced men who are emotionally shut down and repressed, right? And you can feel that. You can feel their hearts just closed. And that feels terrible for a woman, right? I get that. She feels unsafe. She doesn't really feel loved. She doesn't feel cherished and cared for. That feels fucking horrible, right? I get that. And I get how, if you're comparing that to a man who's like really heart open and he's sharing his feelings and you can feel his heart, I get that could be seem better. And in many ways it is better, for sure, right? But there is another option that most women, a lot of women have not experienced. And that's a man whose heart is fully open, right? He's fully open. You can feel him. You can feel his love for you. You can feel his love for you a million miles away, right? You can feel his devotion for you. You can feel his care for you. You can feel him in everything that he does for you, right? So his heart is fully open. So he does have feminine energy, but it's fully integrated into his masculine energy. So it just feels like this feeling of devotion, this feeling of being cherished, and you can feel that heart connection, but it's very masculine, right? It's very dominant. So he doesn't need to express his feelings. You're feeling his heart all the time and everything that he does for you, and his energy and his penetration for you energetically and physically. And that's a very different feeling, right? That's very different than a man whose heart open, but expressing them actually expressing his feelings. And it's very different than a man whose heart is totally closed and he's just his feelings are repressed. He's not going to be able to lead with devotion. A man whose heart is his emotions are shut down, he's not going to be able to lead with devotion. He's going to be probably a domineering control freak or something like that women don't want. What if he doesn't express any feelings? So I don't express any feelings, right? Okay, so fear. Okay, I feel afraid, right? I've done many live streams. I felt fear doing those live streams. I'm just giving an example here, right? I could express those feelings. I just don't, especially not to my woman, because it's unnecessary. Now, here's the thing. If it's like really helpful for a man, maybe he's like really emotionally shut down, and maybe that's just useful to express feelings. I'm not against doing that with your like men. I've certainly expressed feelings of fear and other things with guys when I was like going out to meet women, and you know, just rejection after rejection. I just wanted to kill myself after a while because it was so painful. You know, I've done that. I've expressed my feelings there because, and I think that was quite helpful. But I got to a point quite quickly where I just had no desire to really, you know, I have no need to express them. I just have no need. It's not that I'm not feeling things. I still feel fear. I still feel, you know, sadness and stuff sometimes. I just have no desire, because here's what it is. When a man is truly in his dominance, he's truly devotional to his woman, when his inner vision for the relationship is you know, of primary importance other than his purpose in the world, you know, and like we'll talk about me, like my inner vision is to have an extremely polarized relationship, right? That's extremely important to me. And so by expressing my feelings, I'm actually sabotaging my inner vision. And so I actually feel really good. It's a sense of responsibility for me to not express my feelings, not because I'm afraid, but because I feel responsible for leading towards my inner vision, where my woman is heart open and expressing her feelings and being in her feminine, and I'm staying in my masculine and holding space for that and leading her into that, and you know, giving her heart love in all the ways that I do as a man, right? So it's not about fear, it's about responsibility. And men who have not properly integrated their feminine don't feel a sense of responsibility. So it's really important. And so that's why a lot of women will be with men who can express their feelings, but they're irresponsible, and they're irresponsible leaders. And you know, I used to be like that. Right? I used to be like that, where I could express all my feelings, and I had a lot of masculine energy too, as kind of back and forth all the time. But I didn't feel that sense of responsibility for her. I just felt a sense of responsibility to share authentically however I felt in the moment. And right, it's not the same thing. What if it's not about her and he is going through something and cannot get himself out of it by himself? Well, I mean, again, first, if you really can't, if a guy really can't get out of it, I mean, talk to your guy friends. That's always my first suggestion. And then, but work towards being able to get out of everything yourself, right? Like there's this idea that that men can't process that. Like if they're not expressing verbally, that somehow they're repressing their feelings. No. I've gone, like, trust me, I've gone through some pretty shitty, horrible things in my life, especially recently. And I can express all that stuff. Or sorry, I could express all that stuff, but I process all of that stuff by myself, right? And of course I cry. Like I've cried all the time. When like grief comes up and stuff like that, yeah, I'll do that. I'm just not gonna do that with my wife. I'm gonna do that alone. And I'm totally fine doing that, right? But I know how to process my emotions. I'm really, really good at it. That's why I teach that I teach that to men too, but especially to women. What if he's running into problems and he stresses the fuck out and he can't seem to figure it out? Well, I mean, assuming we're talking about in his life in general, you know, processing that with you is just going to really depolarize the relationship. Is instead of just coming home to a really radiant feminine woman that's going to naturally relieve that stress just because, you know, your heart is so open and it's just so fucking beautiful, and you know, he just loves being in that energy, and then whatever is stressing him out just kind of melts away. Or he can just be, you know, be a little bitch and start complaining to you and whining to you about his feelings and how stressed he is, which is just going to depolarize everything and take you out of your radiance. And that's burdening the relationship, right? Yeah, expressions of anger and rage. Yeah, like a man should work towards becoming fully 100% centered, and not, you know, getting off center when he's angry. Now, of course, if he's feeling really angry and he wants to go smash something outside, you know, I've done that. right? I just don't want to do that in front of my wife. But, you know, I like smashing stuff sometimes when I'm really, really upset. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I'm not going to shame men for feeling emotions. Absolutely not. You know, emotions they're great, right? I like feeling stuff. It's fine. You know, I like it's amusing to me to be emotional. It's just that we're talking about in a polarized relationship here. When you do it in that relationship, it depolarizes things. So here's the thing. Is a man, when he expresses his feelings, is he capable of saying like, hey, I would like you to do this instead, right? Because he's probably afraid of that. Like all of the men that I have coached, or all of the women that I've coached that have talked about their man, the most very clear pattern is that, when we're talking about men who can express their feelings, is they express their feelings and they're not leading, right? They're not leading because they're afraid of that, and they just want like a mommy to take care of them. They're afraid of just being like, hey, I want you to do this. They're afraid of being in that role. And they're afraid of it. That's the fear. That's the irony behind all of this. All of these men and women saying like, you know, you don't teach men to be afraid of your feelings and stuff. No, it's not about fear. I'm teaching men to not be afraid to lead their fucking relationship. That's what I am teaching men to not be afraid of anymore. Because it's a really big burden for a woman, right? You know, once in a while, like, you know, a man like feels a lot of sadness. I mean, it's certainly not the end of the world. I still recommend really closing all those holes, but, you know, men, especially when they get increasingly conscious, they start doing it a lot more than just a little bit, and it becomes a lot more than just a little bit of a problem. And, you know, I just have so many women clients that it drives them nuts, especially when a woman expresses how she feels and then a man's like, oh, like I feel really sad too. Oh my God, I'm not even going to go there. It's just too terrible. It's just, it's such a burden, and a man should never, ever do that. What else have we got? And the other thing I wanted to mention is, you know, look at my energy when I talk, right? Because some people just I don't know how people misinterpret what I say. It's like I think I'm clear, and then maybe I'm not. I don't know. But when I'm talking about expressing feelings, I'm talking about like I feel sad or I feel whatever. Like you're verbalizing it. Am I a robot right now? Right? Am I a robot with no emotional expression? No, I clearly I clearly have emotional expression in the way I talk, right? Like there's nothing that's wrong with that. Now, of course, it could be very uncontained emotion as well, right? And that you notice that with really feminine men, where they're just kind of all what's the word? Like I'm thinking like a woman who's like just so silly, like playful, like her feelings and emotions are just like all on her heart, and you can just feel it, right? Some men are like that too, and so I'm obviously that's like really uncontained emotion. So I'm expressive in the way that I talk. There's nothing wrong with that, especially when I'm doing a live stream. But I just want to be clear with language here. I'm talking about actually expressing your feelings, verbalizing them. I've experienced if they cannot express how they are feeling, keeping it in, not being able to process it, it comes out in other ways towards the people around him. Yeah, well, and that is common, right? But it's really because he's not leading. Because if a man is truly leading, if he's truly in his dominance, then he's just going to be solving these problems, right? He's just going to feel shitty about something, right? Whatever it is, about his woman, about his job, about his purpose, probably if he is on a purpose, about friends, and he just solves the problem. Whatever is causing the problem. He starts setting boundaries. He starts giving direction. He starts making judgments on people's behavior, things that are happening. He quits his job and does his purpose and figures out what he loves, right? And then those feelings go away. So yeah, if it's a choice, right? Like if a man can't lead and can't express his feelings, holy shit, that's going to be a big problem, right? That's going to be a really big problem where you've got a man who's just like, can't contain himself, and you can just feel all this negativity, and he's going to take it out on you, and he's probably going to yell at you, and you can feel that irritation, right? Because he's a balloon that's filled with, like, getting filled with water with a water hose, and it's got to come out, right? That tension has got to come out. So yeah, and you got to realize most men can't lead. So if most men can't lead, and a lot of men can't express their feelings, then yes, you're going to get a lot of that bullshit in your relationship with men. So, but what I'm trying to show is, instead of going down this road, it's a very long road, and it's going to not work out well for anybody, of a man getting really expressive with his feelings. How about go down the other road and learn to lead the shit out of your relationship and your life, right? If you want to learn how to express your feelings too, fine. I mean, I can, right? I learned that, but I just don't do it anymore, and I have no need to. If I ever did have a need to, I could, but it's now basically a totally pointless skill set that I don't ever need to use or don't ever want to use. So it's like learning, I don't know, Klingon language, right? It's like, okay, I learned all that, and now I don't ever put that into use because there's no Klingons around. That's a Star Trek reference, by the way. I don't watch Star Trek, but thought it was funny. Anything else? Men have feelings, and they're not less of a man if they express them. We need to stop this narrative and stop saying to blah blah blah. Nope. Sorry, you're wrong. I would recommend watching this whole video because I explained that. What should he do instead of, like, saying he's sad, or if he hurt me badly in the past, and how would he show he feels for what he did that caused a breakdown of trust? How does he show empathy and remorse? Yeah, I mean, like, if I did something to hurt my wife, I'd just be like, I'm really sorry. I really didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I apologize for that. Come here, like I want to make you feel better. Right, like, he's caring. Like, you can feel his open heart. If he's a dominant devotional man, you're going to feel his heart. You're going to feel his care in that. He's just not going to say, like, oh, I just feel so guilty. I feel so much shame right now for hurting you. Oh my goodness, I'm so sad. No, that's feminine, right? No, he's just going to lead. He's going to lead and be responsible with what he did, with his actions, and apologize and make you feel better, and that's it. So how can a woman support that instead of leading the way and being a mother in the relationship? Yeah, well, that goes pretty in depth. We really deal with that a lot in our Radiant Academy, right? Where what women will often do is they'll just enable their man to enable their man to express their feelings, and then it just continues on for the rest of their lives because she doesn't know how to deal with that. She doesn't know how to not enable. So, that's one of the many things that we really cover in the Radiant Academy, is how to deal with that problem, right? And for the Men's Academy, the Dominant Academy, we teach how to actually lead instead of just staying in your feelings and expressing your feelings. Because again, this is fear-based. Men, here's the thing. You hate being afraid of stuff, right? You can feel that in your body. Like, I hate being a pussy. I hate not exercise. I hate not having courage. I hate not having that confidence in myself. And like expressing these feelings all the time, it's like a way to feel good about yourself without actually pushing through what you're really afraid of, which is leading, which is being directive, which is being really clear, being clear in that masculine pole, judging your woman's behaviors as right or wrong, being willing to tell her what you want her to do or not do, setting really clear boundaries. If you're afraid of that, you probably are, join the Dominant Man Academy, because that's where we get men fixed. Even like in the first week, their minds are blown by seeing all the ways that they've been emasculating themselves, and not leading or watering down their leading, right? And what's going to happen is these kind of men are going to be in relationships usually where women are the ones that are doing a lot of the leading, and they're just feeling, even if it's nice leading, right? You don't have to, a woman doesn't have to be a bitch about it, but even if it's nice leading, a man's going to feel that in his body, right? He's going to feel that irritation. He's going to feel that weakness. He's not going to feel powerful in that kind of relationship, right? He's not going to feel like the man. And that's because you're living in fear. So let's get you out of that fear. Let's show you exactly what you should be doing and start leading your way out of it. It's not about acting. It's not about acting more like a man. It's about being like a man. It's about becoming that man. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, the best leader that you can possibly be. That's possible. And you can have a relationship where your woman just fully respects you, and she's fully emotionally responsible, and she's fully just expressing her feelings and being vulnerable and not trying to lead anything at all, and just fully respecting you as a man. That's what you can have, but you got to stop expressing your feelings all the time, and you got to stop making excuses for why this is okay, and how men can express all their feelings and do whatever and they can still be a man. Maybe you can be a man. You can't be a dominant man. You're not leading. You're not leading, and you're burdening your woman. I don't know, what should I do when he's being vulnerable and expresses his emotions? It feels uncomfortable. Well, I would start with saying it feels uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable. Women, your solution is always in your heart. That's what one of the big things we really teach women in the Radiant Woman Academy is to start listening to your heart and start expressing it. Start expressing it responsibly, total emotional responsibility, total vulnerability. It's like, get out of your head. You got to get out of your head and really start listening to your heart and really start getting comfortable expressing from your heart, because that's how you're going to fix your relationships. That's going to be how you fix your love life. You got to stop being afraid of that. Right? Just like men are afraid of leading, and they'll often, express their feelings as a way to avoid what they're really afraid of. Women will often lead to avoid what they're really afraid of, which is to be really vulnerable. Isn't that funny and ironic, the way that works, right? And it's that fear that is depolarizing your relationships and ruining everything in your love life. And so you've really got to push through these fears. And yeah, so that's one of the big things we do in the Radiant Woman Academy, is we will help you push through all these fears. You will become really so much more comfortable just expressing everything that's in your heart, and seeing your heart is fully worthy and deserving of love, just by expressing yourself without having to do anything, without having to control anything. And that's it, right? Like, that's a polarized relationship where a man is pushing through all of his fear to step up and lead, and a woman is pushing through all of her fear to let go of control and express vulnerably. That's going to solve a lot of problems. But you've got to be willing to push through the fear. You got to be willing to push through the excuses, and see your true potential in this, and see your role in a relationship. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh my, wow, I went on for 28 minutes. How did I do that? I think that's it. If this video speaks to you, either for men or for women, I really encourage you to go to my website, relationshipofyourdreams.com. It's relationshipofyourdreams.com, all one word, and check out the Dominant Man Academy. Check out the Radiant Woman Academy. These will completely transform your life, your love life, but literally everything in your life and yourself, right? This is the answer that you need to get this stuff fixed forever, where you just don't have these questions anymore, where you just, a woman just has a man who is dominant. He's just leading everything. He's totally devotional to you. He cares about all your feelings. He's, anticipating all of your needs. He's just taking charge. You can just totally relax and just have fun. You can just express everything to him, and he's like, fuck, I want to fix this. I want to hold space for this, right? And that's it. And for men, there's no more fighting. There's no more negotiating and compromising and feeling like you have all these obligations on you and feeling emasculated all the time, and feeling like you're just not being respected because you're probably not being respected, and your woman's leading and she's nagging and she's blaming you for stuff and you don't know how to lead her out of it, well, you can end all those problems for good. That's a choice. It all comes down to a choice. Are you ready, men and women, to push through your fears and have the relationship, the love life that you truly deserve? That's how I'm going to end it. Thanks everybody for tuning in.